All right. So, welcome to JavaScript. I think you need to be muted. I'm hearing myself. Hello. Okay. Thank you. All right. So these are the things we're going to do in day one: introduction, requirements, setup. A few things you need to do: code editor, adding JavaScript to a web page, introductions, data types, checking data types, comments, variables, and then exercises. The exercises will not be done here in class. You would do them yourself in your own repo and drop the link to your repo, where you did them later on. So without further ado, sing this a bit more. Congratulations on deciding to participate in this programming challenge. You'll learn everything you need to be a JavaScript programmer and in general, the whole concept of programming. You see, programming concepts are very similar everywhere you go. So you learn JavaScript today. Tomorrow you try to enter Python. You find out that it won't be as challenging as a complete programmer, Python beginner. Once you have a bit of programming background, learning something, another language, something else, cannot just be as difficult as it would have been if you didn't know anything at all. So this is why they say the whole concept of programming, because things are just similar everywhere. In the end of this challenge, you get okay, completion certificate. In case you need help or if you would like to help others, you may join the dedicated Telegram group. Yeah, we're not part of this group. So it's a guide for both beginners and advanced developers. Welcome to JavaScript. JavaScript is the language of the web. Yeah, anywhere you go on a browser, you're just going to be seeing JavaScript. No matter what backend language they choose to roll with, the front-end language will have JavaScript, the language of the web. So, in this challenge, you'll learn JavaScript. I don't think it's the most popular, but it's very popular. It's used to add interactivity to websites, develop mobile apps, desktop applications, games, and actually nowadays it's used for server-side programming, machine learning, AI. Frankly, everything out there that can be done with programming, uh, JavaScript can do it in some way. You see how there are different packages and all that shooting up. Yeah, originally it was just for websites, but now it's everywhere. You've heard of Electron for desktop applications, React Native for mobile apps. It's JavaScript. Um, I'm not sure of the names of the one for AI and machine learning, but I've heard there's something JavaScript that does those. Naturally, the Node.js environment was created, for server-side programming in JavaScript. There is three.js for, I don't know, some kind of 3D modeling kind of thing. They, they also use that for games too, but sometimes in some websites you might also see stuff like that. There's this popular guy that used three.js to design his, or rather to build his portfolio, I guess, to make waves and spread his name. Yeah, so its popularity in recent years has increased and has been the leading programming language for the last 10 years. And the most used programming language on GitHub. Huh, I need to find these stats. Okay, the challenge is easy to read, written in English, engaging, motivating, and very demanding. We're going to get to the very demanding part. The challenge for at the end of this exercise, I don't know, for those that were at the beginning, you can see it's just 10 questions. That's small. In some later in some later chapters or days, you will find it to be a lot more than 10. So I guess that's where the demanding comes from. Okay, so these are the things you need to get started really. Motivation, a computer, because it's really hard to do this on your phone. And, maybe learning on phone, JavaScript on phone might be kind of okay bit because um, you are just like learning basic concepts at the moment. But to really build something with that, wahala. Anyway, internet, a browser, a code editor. So I believe we have all of these. As for code editor, I use VS Code, and a lot of people use VS Code. So to properly follow along, I don't know, you might want to get VS Code if you don't already. So yes, we need Node.js because Node.js enables JavaScript to run on an environment that is not a browser, like on your system, like on VS Code, which is what we're going to be doing. So it's not mentioned here, but we also use a VS Code extension called Coca.js. So it's a very useful extension for learning JavaScript. You know, so far, I don't know if you've tried doing some things, you may have to enter the command line, enter the nodes, repo, and start doing things there. But it's fun to just write stuff like this and then, I don't know, be able to see the results. Once you console log something, you see the results immediately. So this is why we use Coca. This is I'm turning Coca on now. So we'll just see a sample of what it can do. Yeah. So anytime you just have a console log, you see what you are doing. So it it's very it's very interactive, right? It makes things easier to flow with. So I'm just going to close all of this and open up a new one for this class. Yeah, I use Coca a lot. Sometimes, not just sometimes, a lot of times when I'm doing something. Yeah, while I'm coding and I'm not sure something I want to try is going to work, I'll just quickly hop into this place, into one of my mini files. I have some like, random.js. There are experiments inside here. So with Coca, I can easily maybe just throw in an array and test out what I want to test out, the object, that kind of thing. So if you don't have Coca already, I think this is too big. You can come here, extensions. You can see the three squares and the floating square. Extensions, and you search for Coca. Sorry. Yeah, you will see Coca and you will see Coca.js. The one you want is Coca.js by Wallaby.js. There are so many Cocas now. Wait. So this is the one you want, Coca.js, and you install and enable if it doesn't enable itself automatically. Okay. So to start Coca on any page, two ways to go about it. One is the real shortcut. Can you guys look down here for a moment? I'm going to hold Control and press K. And you see Control K. Control plus K was pressed. Waiting for second key of code. Did you guys see that? Hello?
Yeah.
Okay, so you hold Control and press K and remove your hands and press Q. So Control plus K and then Q. So Control K, you see that, and then you press Q. And Coca starts up. So the other way of doing it, um, Control Shift and P, three of them together. You hold Control, you press Shift, you keep holding it, press P, and then you get here, and you can just search for Coca, and you see a bunch of Coca stuff. So start on current file. You can see the command is really written here, and then Q. So either of these ways, you start up Coca. So back here. Yeah, even if you don't have Node, you can go to this site and install Node, nodejs.org. It's pretty straightforward. Ah, crap. we'll come back. So you see LTS and you see current. The meaning of this LTS is long-term support, as in this is basically the standard one right now. This one is more or less experimental, right? This is the newest one, sure, but it isn't so stable per se. The real Node.js community has not really moved here. So always go for LTS. The utility is recommended for most users. So I think in here you'd see, oh, oh, it just starts. Okay, all right. They would notice your operating system and give you the right one. MSI, no wahala. So that's that. You get it to install it. We don't have the time to go through that. Sometimes it can be long to install because it would ask you to give you the options to install other things, Python and Chocolatey as well. I don't know why it does that. So if you want to check if you have Node installed already on your system, you can use this command. If this doesn't open up by itself, or for some other reason you want to open it up, you can come here to terminal and new terminal. Also, you saw the shortcut here, Control Shift and backtick. Is that key above tab? So you press it, you open up the terminal. Nodes, oh sorry, Node-V, and you enter and you see this. If you don't see a version, then you don't have Node installed. So you should, go over to their site and install Node. Okay, so browser, yeah, many of them out there. Chrome is great, Firefox is great. I don't think I've used much other browsers than those two. Edge, I just use it to open SVGs. So it's all up to you, Sha. All these are, I don't know. I'm not going to writing code on browser console. You can, Sha, but it's not so necessary when you have VS Code and Coca. Why would you go to the doing weird things? Yeah, so you see you can, let's say 7 plus 8. You get an answer immediately. I don't know if this is clear to you guys. The thing is written at the bottom here, 15. I wrote 7 plus 8 and it gave me an answer immediately, 15. But like I said, this is just stress. You can do this on VS Code on Cooper easily. So, our first JavaScript code, console.log. It's a way to get something printed on the console. Okay, so you pass in an argument or something, and whatever you pass in, if there's need to do some execution on it, it will do it and print the answer or the result in the console. If there's no, execution of anything, it will just print it like that. So let's try that out. Console.log. Let me say hello world, right? Hello world. No anything, no operation happening here. I just want to print hello world and it prints it. If I say 7, it will print it. 7 plus 6, 13. Something else with the calculation, it will run the calculation and give me a result. So console logging with multiple arguments. Yeah, you can just pass in a comma and pass in as many things as you want. Okay, so we have 7 plus 6. We can still have our hello and probably have world separately. So as many things as you write, they will just show up in the console. You can also see them out here, outputs. So, congratulations, you've written your first code using console.log. Now, comments. Comments are useful things in code. Okay? So, whether it's to explain, what is going on, or drop some extra info about what is going on, or just, block off certain parts of your code from being executed, maybe as a test or something like that. You want to find out where something's going wrong, and you feel, let me just remove this part, but I don't want to remove it from I don't want to cut it out. I just want it to be there, but don't run for a moment. Lots of reasons why you may want to use comments. So there are single line comments and multi-line comments. Single line comments is just to put two forward slashes in front of any line. So in front of this line, two forward slashes, and that's that. It's commented out. You can see it grayed out. And then multi-line comments. Let me have something else. So we have two console logs. If you want to do a multi-line comment, you can forward slash and asterisk at the beginning, and at the end of whatever line you want to stop at, asterisk and forward slash. So it's a way of commenting out multiple lines with just one set of comments, if you want to call it that. Of course, if you can also, do this for each line, it's all the same. In fact, frankly, that's what VS Code will do. If you mark multiple lines and hold Control forward space, forward slash, it will just apply this single line comment to every line that you mark. So it's all up to you. It's all your choice. Yeah, if at any point you have any question, you can just, ask. If you raise hand, I may not really see it. So you can just, just stop me somewhere and ask. So syntax. Programming languages are similar to human languages. English or many other words use words, phrases, many other languages rather, use words, phrases, sentences, compound sentences, and other things to convey a meaningful message. The English meaning of syntax is the arrangement of words and phrases to create well-formed sentences in a language. The technical definition of syntax is the structure of statements in a computer language. Programming languages have syntax. JavaScript is a programming language, and like any other programming language, it has its own syntax. If you do not write the syntax that JavaScript understands, it will raise different types of errors. So we will explore the different kinds of JavaScript errors later, but for now, let us see syntax errors. So this didn't load well. Let me refresh the page and see if we can get this to load. Okay, it's still loading. This one hasn't shown up well yet. But in any case, let's just create a syntax error ourselves. So we have console.log here. Instead of console.log, what if I wrote console, log? The comma is not really giving a weird, the kind of issue I want. Yeah, syntax error. So errors in JavaScript are quite informative. there are different kinds of errors as you heard earlier, and um, whenever an error is thrown, usually JavaScript will tell you what kind of error it is. So syntax error means something about the way you wrote what you wrote is not in a way it understands. Like here now, it's not expecting this square bracket. It's expecting a normal bracket. So that's the wahala. And then, just an ending normal bracket without a beginning normal bracket is also a wahala with JavaScript. So anyway, syntax error. Oh. Okay, so far we saw how to display text using the console.log. It can be in double quotes, single quotes, or backticks. I think uh, I mentioned backticks earlier, right? They are just on top of tab in your keyboard. So they also function as quotes in a way, but unless the need arises, it's good to stick to. They have a special use. They can function as quotes, to create strings, normal, but they have a special use, and I would say unless that special need arises, just stick to single or double quotes. Okay, arithmetics. Yeah, let's practice writing codes, more of writing codes using console.log. In addition to text, we can do mathematical calculations using JavaScript. So I think we just did, um, or at least I just wrote 7 plus 6 back then. So let's see a few more of these. So we have addition, subtraction, multiplication is an asterisk, division is a forward slash, modulus is pretty interesting. It's a percentage sign, and this is exponentiation, and it's double asterisk. So this is 3 raised to power 2. So we're getting 9. You can imagine if I made it 3 raised to power 3, it would be 27, and next 81, like that. So modulus, to explain modulus, modulus is remainder after a division. 3 divided by 2, something remains. Like there's a whole number and then something remains. So that thing that remains is the modulus. So if I said um, 7 modulus 3, what would it be? Can anyone tell me what it would be? What it will result in?
Should be like two that one or something.
It will be what?
7 modulus 3. That's two and that one is it.
No, I just want the remainder. Just say only the remainder.
Remainder is 1.
1. Alright. So that's the modulus. 7 7 modulus 2. Okay, because it's been 3 I said. 7 modulus 3 is 1. Yeah, because it will go into 6 and 1 will be left. So anyway, there are reasons or there are use cases for this modulus. There are times when it's useful. So along the road, we are going to run into those cases. No need to worry. Okay, code editor. Yeah, we've already discussed this. VS Code is what we're using. All right. Now I know some of us are not really going for front end, but all the same, this is just a very basic something. Adding JavaScript to a web page can be done in 3 different ways. There's inline script, internal script, external scripts, multiple external scripts. These two are like part of the same way. They just put it to shed more light because most of the times it's hard to see just one external script. You need to have many for serious things. Yeah, so the following sections show different ways of adding JavaScript to your web page. So we're asked to create a folder, name it 30 days of JS, and create an index.html file in the project folder. Okay, and then copy this into it. Yeah. So let's see. "30 days of JS," and in here we're going to have index.html. Okay, and we copy this code in. So this is just a very basic um, HTML code. Okay, so in it we have a button, and this button has inline JavaScript. You can see this on click, alert, welcome to 30 days of JavaScript. An alert is something that will just pop up from the screen, usually from the top of the screen, and it will stop every other thing from happening. Like you can't interact with the page until you close that thing, that pop-up. That's an alert. Okay, so let's run this and see what happens. So we have this over here, click me. And if you click it, this happens. Yeah, nothing else is going to happen on this page until you click OK. So that's inline JavaScript, right in between the lines, or right inside, the line of HTML. So internal script is the one you write in the head, or the body. Although we usually see it put in the body of the HTML document. So first, let's write it in the head. Okay. You have script tags like this. Okay, so this says console log, welcome to 30 days of JavaScript. So it means once this page is loaded, this script is just going to run. So the way to see a console log is, in inspect. I think Control I is inspect. Yeah. So in the console you see, welcome to 30 days of JavaScript. Let me try. I think Control I is inspect. Oh, well. Oh. Okay, Control Shift I is inspect. Okay, so that was internal. Written in the body usually comes at the bottom of all the things you want to put in the body, all the normal HTML tags you want to put in the body. Then you just write script, just like the way it was here. Write whatever you want to write. So external scripts, it could be something you have, like something you have locally with you in your folder, in your project folder. And so you write a path to it. As well, it could be something that is hosted online, and you write an absolute path like HTTP, go to this place, that place, and blah blah blah. That's where it is, something like that. So those are external scripts, and it's possible to have multiple of them. So you can have scripts, this script, that script, that. So in the case of these external scripts, let's just do a little something. You see, their order matters a lot. So let's do a little test with that. let's say I have test.js, and in this I'm going to say console.log hello, and in this other one, second.js, I'm going to say console.log world. So linking these two to our HTML, so script tag, you can src shortcut, and you can either write, dot slash this, or you just start writing it. Anyway, first.js.js, so I'm going to duplicate this line and have second.js.js. To save all your unsaved pages at the same time, it's kind of similar to how you start Coca, right? Control K and then S, and everything that is unsaved gets saved at the same time. So let's look here. Now you can see the one in the head ran first, and then the ones in the body ran, and it ran in that order. The first one first, the second one second. If we switch first and second JS, those um those logs would also switch. World will come before hello. You can move a line or a bunch of lines up and down by having the cursor on that line and holding alternate and pressing up or down. So if I hold alt and press up, the line goes up, down, like that. If I want multiple lines to move, I mark them all up, down, like that. So it can help you someday. Yeah, world and then hello. So another weird thing that can happen with these, uh, that's in scope. Actually, this thing I want to say is in scope. I think that would be like day 4 or so. So anyhow, we'll get there. So let's see what is next. Yeah, so we've done multiple external scripts and all that. So finally, the real thing, introduction to data type. So in JavaScript and also other programming languages, there are different types of data types. In JavaScript, or rather the following are JavaScript primitive data types. Primitive means they are like the basics of the basics. They are they're not composed of anything else. They are the real building blocks. Okay. String, number, boolean, undefined, null, and symbol. This last one is a bit weird, and throughout the course of what we're doing, we're never going to talk about symbol. Yeah, it's a very weird thing. Frankly, I don't know very much about it. So these are the ones that you would or will get to experience a lot. This one, let's just say for our level, not it's not so important. Right? You can do without it. On your own, you can try to read up on it, but I think you'll find out pretty soon enough that you should wait a bit before you. So let me just get these out. So string, number, boolean, undefined, null, and symbol. So numbers. We have integers, which are non-decimal point numbers, whole numbers, if you want to call them that. Those are integers. They can be negative, 0, or positive. And then we have floating or float point numbers. These are numbers with decimal, aspects to them. Yeah, 3.5 something point something. Those are floating point numbers. In JavaScript, we don't really differentiate between them. Like they are all numbers, whether integers or floating points. Or some other languages, um, they are actually separated into different data types. Like there is int and float, that kind of thing. I think PHP or is it Python? One of those two or both of those two are like that. But JavaScript just knows number. Okay, strings are anything that is in between quotes. Single quotes, double quotes, backtick, that's a string. The only rule there is that whatever kind of quote you start with, you must end with that as well. Yeah. So let's just have this. The numbers, we have integers like, I don't know, 3 or 8 or 704. And then float point numbers like, let's make one of these minus. It passes that message across as well. So let's say 7.5 and 0.034. Okay, so for strings, now you can have double quotes with blah blah blah, or sorry, single quotes with even numbers inside and weird symbols. Everything goes. Once it's inside a string, anything goes. And then backticks. Yeah. Um, these semicolons end a line in JavaScript. If you don't put the semicolon, the compilers are designed to sometimes in some cases understand that this other thing is another line, that kind of thing. But in some weird cases like this, it will look like it's still part of this line. And so just having one string and then another string right next to it, that's not supposed to be, right? That becomes an error. So with me putting this, it tells it, don't worry, this is the end of this line, this is a new line. So just writing a string in JavaScript is not a crime. But writing a string and another one right after without anything happening, no, that becomes a problem. So to show what I'm saying, this console.log, you see, I can move this log as far away as I want, and it's still working because the compiler is just going to read and keep going and see the dot. But if in the middle of this place I put this, then we have a problem because now this line has ended here, and on this line we're just having dot log. That's crazy. So error, syntax error. Okay, so let's try and create another syntax error by starting with a single quotes, blah blah blah, ending with a double quote. Unterminated string constant. It's looking for the end of this one. It's looking for that single quote that will end it. So if I put this, all goes back to normal. So booleans. Booleans are very straightforward. Either true or false. So just to try that experiment, you see that capital T true is not true, it's not boolean. No. It's looking at this as a variable or something of that nature. Yeah. It's not looking at it like a boolean true, like this one is true, this one is false. Capital T is not actually true, it's something else. So yeah, booleans are just true or false. Undefined and null. These two um, bring up some confusion in JavaScript, right? So in JavaScript, if we don't assign a value to a variable, the value is undefined. In addition to that, if a function is not returning anything, it's returning undefined. Basically, anything that you don't give a value or that doesn't have a value becomes automatically undefined, right? Although you can actually give something the value undefined, like okay, I don't know, probably later in this lesson we're going to come to creating variables, but let's just create one now anyway. So let's say the constant allow that. Let's let's do. Let's just stop at that. Let's do, right? And if you console.log do, you see that do is undefined because we didn't give it a value. If you say GU is 7, then GU becomes 7. But no value, it becomes undefined. But you can actually give it the value undefined by directly writing undefined. So these are the two ways something can be undefined. By you either directly giving it the value undefined or not giving it a value at all. Null, however, the only way something can be null is if you make it null. Like if you give it the value null. Null is empty. Sometimes for some reason we want to create a variable or do something, we don't want it to have any value at the beginning. Okay? And if you say this thing is 0, it kind of feels like you are saying this variable is going to store numbers. If you give it the value empty string, what I mean 0, it kind of feels like view is now a variable for numbers, something like that. You say empty strings, it's like, okay, later on we're going to put strings in here. You understand? But when things are not very clear at all, you just want this thing to not be undefined. You want it to have a value but have none. So you say no. At the beginning of your JavaScript journey, you may not run into a lot of situations where you want to use this, let something be null. Or later on, I'm sure you find those reasons. Anyway, that's the difference between null and undefined. Null is the keyword you give to something when you want it to be empty for some reason. Undefined could either be that this thing was given the value undefined, or it was not given any value at all. Yes. Something, everything has to be something. So if you don't tell it to be something, then it will become undefined. Okay, so they described undefined and they described null as an empty value. All right, so checking data types. Check the data type of the certain variable. We use the type of operator. So this type of operator is one of those weird operators that behaves funny. And the way it works, you just write type of and give a space, and then write whatever value you want to check its type. So type of Asabene or stuff like that. All right, checking data types. So as you can see, quotes, this one is easy, string. This one is just a number. This is true, or if you wrote false here, boolean. Now, no, it's a little confusing. Why does it write object? Undefined, undefined. You see, everything, JavaScript, you may have heard the word or the term OOP before. Everything in JavaScript is an object, all right? But strings, numbers, booleans, they're made in a kind of way that they don't behave like normal objects, right? They are just like on their own, that kind of thing. But last, in some way, like deep in their ancestry, their objects. Ignore that whole weird thing, right? But everything basically at the end of the day is an object. So null, I guess null is very in touch with his ancestors or something. I'm not aware. Okay, I've not really tried looking for, will I say, the technical definition or description of why type of null gives objects, but it's just something that helps you, or makes you kind of reflect on the fact that truly everything in JavaScript is an object. Some are just more special than others. Okay, so these are the five um, types we are basically going to be working with for the rest of our 30 days journey. Oh yeah, you can also use it to test, variables. Like we can, like you can see type of view. So because view is null, you're going to see object. Yeah, if I remove this, and you see undefined. So comments again. I don't think we need to bother with this. They're just telling you comments and okay. We've already seen one use of comments, right? So if someday somebody is going through this code, they would understand that this was kind of like a lesson because you're seeing this and all this. It makes your code make sense. Actually, comments are very useful in real life. You're actually what's the word, encouraged to use comments as much as possible. Even you that is writing the code, at the time of writing that code, it can make the most perfect sense to you. Like it's all sensible. I mean, I did this here, and the first things are like this. I did that. Or I bet you, even if it's not one day later or 1 week later, there'll be a point where you look at that code and you spend time understanding why you wrote what you wrote. But adding comments. Okay, this one is like this, and so I'm doing this. All right, this one is going to happen. This one is what is happening. You will not believe how much easier it can make your life, and more so the lives of others that will look at that code, because your codes won't be only looked at by you later on in life. Right now, probably only you look at your code, but later on, yeah, other people are going to look at your code, and you want them to have a good time because if they don't, they will not want to look at your code again, and that's not good. All right, so we're here, variables. Variables are containers of data. Variables are used to store data in a memory location. When a variable is declared, the memory location is reserved. When a variable is assigned a value, the memory space will be filled with that data. To declare a variable, we use var, let, or const. However, as you probably have heard, these are the ones we really use these days. This one is still there, but just for backwards compatibility. As in, there are lots of code that have been written that already have bar, so they can't just turn it off because that would just spoil the codes from the 90s, 80s, even 2010s. All those fields that we are using bar. Let's constant. I think it should be fairly recent. Like I don't know, maybe a dozen years ago. That's still fairly recent in the lifespan of JavaScript, right? So they can't just turn this off. So, like I said, backwards compatibility. But this is what we really use. Avoid this as much as possible. The lesson that will talk about scopes will make you understand why this is no longer used because it's a troublesome thing. So, for a variable that changes at a different time, we use let. If the data does not change at all, we use const. For example, pi or country name or gravity do not change, so we can use const. These are just examples. Actually, this thing, when I first saw it, it made me feel like there's only things that are constants in real life, like pi or gravity, 9.8 and all that. I use const. But it's actually, it doesn't really care about all that. What it cares about is, are you going to, like when you give this variable a value, are you going to later come and say, no, I don't like this value, take another value? Are you going to do that? If you are going to do that, then use let. If you are not going to do that, then use const. There are this stuff, what do you call them? Linters. Linters are, this set of programs that go through your code to look for errors or, you know, places that don't confirm or that conform to standards. When you use linters on your code, they would usually pick up on this thing, this let and const thing. If you have a variable um, you created with let, and in the course of your code, you didn't reassign that, you didn't give it a different value, you didn't say throw away that value, take this new one. The linter is going to flag it. Depending on your settings, it could throw an error or it could just make it a warning. Like, this thing is supposed to be const, not supposed to be let. And your codes already will not even let you. I mean, for const, once you um, create a variable with const, you can't reassign the value. You can't just throw away that value and put a new one. JavaScript itself will not let you do that. So that's the stuff we used to. So I don't know. Let's just create something. We've already done this. We've already done something with let, right? So let's create const. Mm, let's say const day is equal to Saturday. And now if I say day is equal to Sunday, we get this error. Assignment constant variable. The value Saturday was already assigned to day. And because day was created with const, is locked in. It can't be changed again. You may do some things today. Let me see, what can you really do today that will change it? Nothing more really. For primitives, their values can't be. I think that's one of those differences between primitives and non-primitives. For these primitive, data types that we've seen, there's no, if they are created with const, there's no manipulation you can do that will change their value. You have to reassign it. Like if you want this Saturday to change to something else, you want day to not be Saturday again, you have to reassign. You have to say day is now equal to something else. And const is going to stop you from doing that anyway. So if you said let day equal to Saturday, Yeah, you can change this Sunday. So let's just have this console.log day. So it was Saturday here. So after here, it's now Sunday. Mm, let me just put a const something so that there will be a const in this page. Let's say const pi. What's pi again? 3.142. Like that. Now, I know I wrote this pi with capital letters, like same problem. I think the next thing after this should be naming convention for variables. Right. A valid JavaScript variable name. We'll get to that capital thing. A valid JavaScript variable name must follow the following rules. Let me also have these rules. Okay, so a JavaScript variable name should not begin with a number. So if we say 7-day, wrong, syntax error, identifier directly after number. JavaScript variable name does not allow special characters except $sign and underscore. So if I say d underscore da, oh right, let me just comment this out for now. The error it was throwing was that this variable is now da underscore y, but here I'm trying to look for just day, but it doesn't know what day is anymore. This is the one it knows now. So after we're done messing around, I'll change it back. So we have this. We can have $sign. It doesn't accept naira sign, unfortunately. It doesn't also accept asterisk or hash. Sorry. Yeah, these are the only two that are accepted, and they can also come at the beginning. Yeah, they can also come at the beginning. Okay, a variable, a JavaScript variable. These two are by force. Like it cannot begin with a number. It can't have any other characters aside from $sign and underscore. But this one is convention. Like JavaScript will allow you to write whatever you want, but for for the purpose of our reading your code better, people reading your code better, then you should follow this camel case convention. Meaning, if you have multiple words in your variable name, then the first word, small letters all through, and then the next words, there will be no space, but the first character of each of the next words will start with a capital letter. So day of the week, something like this. This is camel case. So it's called camel case because it's supposed to look like the humps of a camel. Small letter, big letter, small letter, big letter, small letter, small letter, big letter, small letter. Camel case convention. So, like I said, this is just a convention, and if you wrote day of the week, JavaScript itself will not punish you. Whoever is looking at your code will frown at you. And then the last one is it shouldn't have space between words. So once you do this, yeah, it's wrong. Again, syntax error, unexpected token. After this space, it was expecting an equal to. So why the hell is this saying weird words? Okay, so let's leave this camel case and instead on these other ones today of the week. all is right with the world again. So as for why I wrote this in capital letter, there are some kind of because const is now as long as this thing is not going to change, and you know as long as this value is not going to be reassigned, yeah, it has to be const, that kind of thing. But there are some certain things in our code sometimes that we really, really, really look at as constants. For example, you know, you're doing some work with time, and you need to do some kind of calculations, with seconds, minutes, and whatnot. So you might want to say something like const, let me say, seconds in a minute, and it is equal to, what's that, 60 times 60, right? Yeah, 60 times 60. So now this looks weird. Bunch of capital uppercase characters just everywhere. So we use underscores here. This is also another convention name. These conventions, they have different names. I've heard of Pascal case or something else. I think that's Python that one is used in. I've forgotten what convention this is called. One of those cases.
Snake case.
Snake case. Yeah, thank you. So for constants, we write them like anyway. That's that. So the following are examples of valid JavaScript variables: first name, last name, config, city, capital city. These ones with the underscore. I don't know. In front-end JavaScript, you would mostly see this. But in backend, you will see this. I don't know why people do this. Well, it's more, you're more likely to see this in backend in Node.js than to see this. Both of them are valid JavaScript variables, but I don't know. I guess it's just the people writing them that decided to be different because I mean it's okay for everybody. This is valid. Oh right, I didn't do something with number. You can actually have numbers in a JavaScript variable. They just can't be in the beginning. So let's say day of the week. So I just have to make it the same everywhere. Yeah. So the 6 just can't be at the beginning, but it can be anywhere else. Okay, so invalid variables. All these. Let us declare variables with different data types. To declare a variable, we use let or cons before the variable name, followed by an equal sign, assignment operator, and the value. So let variable equal value, or const variable equal value, like that. Okay, and just like that, we've gotten to the end. But before we end, we only talked about primitive data types. So for non-primitive data types, these are, I don't know what I'll call compound data types. Like they can have multiple, they are usually built up of these primitive ones. So for the purpose of what we're doing, as in this 30 days thing that we're doing, I think the non-primitive data types that would show up. So we have objects. Objects, arrays, Sets, maps. I think these are the four that we're going to encounter. Yeah, but mostly it's these two that you see as non-primitive. These are just everywhere. Like you can't live your life without objects and arrays in JavaScript. It's impossible. You can roll without these two. This one especially. This is very rare to see this one. But these guys, these are the OGs. Like you are just you can't avoid them. So objects are stuff that look like this. You know, it's these are called curly braces. So an object is something enclosed in curly braces, and it usually has um, key and pair. Let me put this in brackets. Property and value. So you can say key and value pair, property and value pair, but it's more common to hear key and value pair. So in it, they would have a key. Let me say give, for example, and the value 7, right? Yeah. So something like this. Let me say on my obj will be called this. So if we console logged, I will still have fun. If you console log my obj, you will get this du7. Now, remember we assigned this thing with const. So that means we can't reassign this. We can't come later and say, sorry, my obj is equal to 8. Nah, as assignment to constant variable. Of course, if we did this with let, then that will fly. Okay? But const. For now, throwing this away, even though this thing was described with const, uh, and this was originally how what we said is value, we can still change this value. Like we can make it look different, even though this thing is const, because we wouldn't actually be changing, like replacing the value. We would just be modifying the value. So one difference of yeah, I think that's really how it's explained. One difference between primitive and non-primitive data types in JavaScript is that non primitive data types can't be modified. Like how we talked about this Saturday thing. You can't modify this Saturday value. You can make some changes to it and assign it to a new variable, but you can't inside the same day of the week. You make a change here without an assignment. You can't do that. But for non-primitives like objects, arrays, and these other ones, you can do that. So although my obj was created and given the value du7, we can add something to it. We can now say my obj let me say dot name equal to it has changed, but this thing is const. Alright? That's because const only stops things from being reassigned. It doesn't really stop them from being modified. But unfortunately, you can only modify non-primitive data. So that's just something to keep in mind. So another non-primitive, we'll just talk about arrays. So I don't know. Arrays are just these square brackets. Okay, let's assign it to something. So const my array is equal to this. Let's console.log my array. And you have this. So just like objects, right? Arrays can contain anything. You can have a string in an array. You can have ray. You can have a number 9. You can have true. You can have null. You can have undefined. You can have my obj, which is an object, right? You see it showing up. You can have another array inside an array, and all these are fine. Also, with objects, you can have the only thing with objects is that your key your key has to be a string. Even though we wrote this GUI without it, without the quotes, it's going to it looks at it as if it has quotes. That's why if we said something like uh, yes, if we said something like this, we are going to have issues. But this is fine. Yeah. So anyway, all your key names are strings. Even if you wrote this, you can see this, right? Hello world. This is an array. Okay. I guess as we're on this, we can talk about something, two things. So type coercion and type conversion. So type coercion is when you wrote something with a particular data type in JavaScript, and probably during some kind of operation or something, JavaScript changed the data type to something else, right? By itself, you did not tell it to do this; it just did it. Like here, for example, this thing is an array, right? But here you can see that it's no longer an array; it's now a string. JavaScript did that by itself because it only understands that property names, key names should be string. So if you write anything else there, it's going to coerce it to become a string. Type conversion. Type conversion is when you yourself say, I don't like this data type. I want to make this thing another data type. For example, we have this. Let's let num be equal to 7, for example. All right, so the type is string, as you can see. But now, if we say num is equal to number num, as in we're saying this value, pass it into this function number, right, and assign it back to num. Yeah. So now num is a number, and if you just look at num itself, this was why I use typeof, because for strings and numbers, it's a little troublesome to tell in this Coca display. Sometimes they just look the same. Okay, I guess it doesn't even necessary. So the quotes are showing. So here, norm is 7, normal string 7. But after all this, it's now not just 7. So this is conversion. You change it from one type to another. Of course, it's only possible because 7 is actually a number and, can be converted. If you wrote something like hi here, yeah, it's going to become none. Because hi is not a number. That kind of thing. Anyway, that's type coercion and type conversion. And some other things you may be running into them. So yeah, um, just like how arrays can have any data type inside them, objects can also do the same as as values. In the key property, the key value pairs, the value part can be anything. Here it is number. Here it's a string. Here could even be another object. Let's say world is. Yeah, this is yeah, another one could be an array. The only, let's say, rule here is that these keys themselves must be strings. If they are not strings, the last people force them to be strings. So I think with this we've come to the end of today's lessons. Our lesson. Is there any question from anyone? Question, reaction, something to say, yada yada, anything. Now it's your chance to say it or ask it. All right, nothing. Okay, so the exercises are for you. Create a folder. You can name it just like I did, Coders Den, and then just have have your stuff in folders. So like day one, you could have day1.js, and you try to attempt those, or you could just have a folder called exercises, right? And you need to have day1.js, day2.js, like that, and you just try to attempt this question in there. So what you do, you can copy these whole stuff in there and put comments. What I mean is something like this. Okay. So you give a space, you drop an answer, that kind of thing. Over here, you give a space, you drop an answer. I think we need to add the numbers. So this is one. This is two. Like that.
Like that.
Someone has a question? All right, no questions. Lovely. So you guys can show up again tomorrow. It will likely not be me. Today there were just some issues, so I have to. But you would either meet Kelani or Chinonso or Victor tomorrow. So have fun and don't miss classes because a lot can be talked about that would help you.